Oops.
Dude, by the way, speaking of which, chopping in bags, did you hear about what happened to that guy in New York?
Yes, I did. Somebody was dismembered and there was an electric saw near his body.
No blood, professional job. Like, what the hell did this guy do?
How do you not leave any blood?
Apparently, it was just like meticulously cleaned up. And yeah, it's like Dexter.
Wow.
And dude, I mean, I wonder like what like did a hit that seems like a hit. Like some kind of like what do you think that guy was up to no good? Is that like fucked up of me to suggest that? Like I'm sorry to his family. Like this is a complete tragedy. And you know, obviously nobody deserves that. But I wonder like how the hell do you get chopped into pieces? Randy?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And then the guy left the saw, right? He left the saw there, which is sort of like in The Sopranos when they drop the gun, which is something that always confused me, by the way, because the gun's going to have fingerprints on it. They never wore gloves.
Wait, they did wear gloves.
Dude, not all the
Usually,
hits in The Sopranos do they wear gloves. And they dispose of the gun. They just throw it right at the scene. And I think what I read was like, well, it's better than them finding the gun later on the person, because then they can be like, well, this is the murder weapon that you know what I mean? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
You got to find the murder weapon.
But dude, it does beg the question, right? Like, what is the market for hitmen?
It's a great question.
Like, what is the cost of hiring a hitman who really knows what they're doing?
How do you even find him?
How do you find that guy? What is it? $50,000? Is it $100,000? I have so many questions. I would love to learn more about the murder industry.
So then that begs the question too. It's like that guy had to be, so the guy who got chopped up was a tech CEO. He was a pretty wealthy guy, whatever. I mean, went all over the world too. He had all sorts of like international gaming stuff. But back to your question about all this stuff, like was the hitman formerly in the military? You have to assume he probably was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, how do you get trained otherwise?
Yeah, it's paramilitary, right? It's like a lot of guys that work for the private contracting firms and stuff.
Right. Like Blackwater and all that shit.
Yeah.
It has to be, right? Like mercenaries.
Yeah. Yeah, but that doesn't explain how he was so adept at the blood stuff and the science of it.
Right. No.
So that makes me think this guy really was an expensive hire, right?
Yeah.
Top of the line.
He had
like, did you ever watch the Tanya Harding movie?
I did. I thought of that immediately when I was thinking of this because that was just completely botched.
So they like hired their friend who, was just like this overweight dude willing to do it.
Galooly was that was the boyfriend.
Right. And he like hit her in the leg with a pipe.
Yeah.
For $40 and a Happy Meal. You know what I mean? Like that's not the way to do it.
Yeah, you need your budget to be allocated properly to the hitman.
Yeah, but it's fascinating because you know what it does? It validates the movies because it makes you realize, oh, there is a market for this. And I don't know if you're finding these guys on like Silk Road or the dark web or, certainly we talked about that Russia book I read. The government of Russia has access to incredible assassination equipment.
Oh, dude, they're the best at it. I mean, it keeps happening.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But, I don't know. What were you saying?
No. But in regard to this, it would be funny to talk to a hitman and just like have him be like, oh, it ain't all it's dished out to be in the movies. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why I'm making that accent. But like, dude, you're right. It's a real thing. And I sometimes wonder this, like if I'm really mad at somebody, I'll sometimes be thinking about how I could murder them.
100%. I think about this all the time.
And it's a type of thing where not leaving a paper trail is an unbelievably complicated thing. And at the end of the inner dialogue, I come to the conclusion that there is no way for me to do it without putting myself at an extremely high risk of getting caught.
Right.
You know, because
Right.
you can't call anybody or that gets traced, right? Even
Right.
if you meet with somebody, you met with them. And like, where were you that day? You might have been with the guy, even if you're in the middle of a fucking field.
Totally. Totally. Dude, you know what I think I've said this before. What I fantasize a lot about is not so much killing someone as hiring like Lisbeth Salander from the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, someone like that to plant troves of child pornography on the hard
Yeah.
drives of my enemy's personal computers, and then sending in an anonymous tip to the FBI. The problem is I would have so much glee being the guy who alerted the FBI, and then they'd be like, "Well, Francis, we know this guy and you hated each other. Clearly, you
Right.
had something to do with this."
And then you would have maybe had to either be the one who gathered the child porn, or you had conspired to gather child porn through others. And either way, you're getting yourself in harm's way.
Yeah, at best, I'm framing somebody, and then I'm in trouble for that. But dude, it's a great question. All right, so let's try to lay out the cleanest, bare minimum way for you and I, who are not in the murder game and have no connections, to get somebody killed, right?
Yeah.
Because let's think about this, right? Starting from position one, from square one, right? Let's say that we have a guy we want to kill. His name's Billy.
Sure.
I don't know who, like, do you have someone in mind who you would get in touch with who could potentially know something about that?
Jeez. I mean, maybe, but how do you even approach that conversation? That seems like a conversation that happens over a long dinner at the end of the dinner.
It has to be a friend. It has to be someone you trust. The first person you talk to has to be someone you really trust. Okay? And
Maybe
then
there's a couple people.
Okay. In all likelihood, given that we're normal, upstanding citizens, they're going to try to dissuade you from doing this thing.
Right. Like, don't cross over to the dark side. Once you do it, there's no turning back.
Right. but let's say that they somehow are on board, right? So that right off the bat, you've got one person who now knows that you're involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I don't think I know anyone personally who has a direct line to an assassin.
Yeah.
So at the next, they're then getting in touch with another person.
Right.
I guess I'm wondering, how many degrees of separation are you from a hitman?
And I'm going to be honest, I think that we're probably not as far away from removed as we think we are.
I think I am much more removed than I think I am.
Closer than you are to Kevin Bacon.
Dude, it's like, for me, I know a guy who can get like a lot of cocaine wholesale. So
that guy knows somebody who
he'd be the guy I'd get in touch with, and then maybe he'd get in touch with his like big time drug dealer, and then that guy would be able to maybe get in touch with somebody. But now it's out of your control. Do you know what I mean? Because then that person could spread it to a couple people.
Right. You want as few people knowing about this as possible. Which then sort of leads me to believe that maybe
at that point, it's not like you're going to interview the hitman. It's not like interviewing a nanny to be like, what are your methods? Like, what do you do in this scenario? What if this happens? Like, what are you going to use? What's your availability like?
Dude, that's great. Yeah, you can't be doing that.
So I think it's like 4 or 5 degrees of separation, which means that the bubble grows, which means that the police or the FBI have more and more people whom they can lean on to trace it back to you.
Totally, dude. And you have to also imagine that like private security companies maybe know people. Like there's maybe a more, you know what I mean? Like any company that can like extract you from a dangerous situation has to know.
I guess, but like they tend to, I feel like private security company, I don't know. My thought was to try to get in touch with somebody in organized crime.
Right. That has to be a good first step.
That's the other way to go, right? Is to just get Tony from the meatball shop to put you in touch with some guy who's very overweight, but somehow can kill people like it's a Scorsese movie. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah. Yes, I do.
Because that's what you see. Like there's in the movies, like there's two different ways, right? There's like the former CIA operative who, you know, has all kinds of funky gadgets and screws a silencer onto his gun and tracks the person and does this and then wipes the credentials, and you have to give him like clean unmarked bills or something, or some offshore account in the Cayman Islands. And then there's like a guy who makes hero sandwiches in the daytime and then like uses a snub-nosed revolver and like walks up to the guy and is like, "Hey, Bobby," bop, bop, bop. And then the guy falls, and then he gets him 2 or 3 more times, drops the gun, and goes off eating the sandwich he made earlier.
As if it was nothing. No, with no worry that he would be caught.
For like $400.
Yeah, yeah. That seems like you want to go with the guy one.
I have no idea how to get in touch with that guy. That guy I have no means of getting in touch with. And I don't think I have a guy in the mob either. I think for me, it's going to come through like drug dealing underworld.
That's fair. You know, it's funny too. This could lead to a very awkward conversation if like there's always one kid from every town whose dad is in the mafia, supposedly. You like hit up that kid's dad and it turns out he's just a completely legitimate businessman.
Dude, how you're Italian, right?
Yeah.
How often do kids love to say with complete certainty that someone's dad is in the mafia?
It's good, dude. Like in every group that I've ever encountered, there's always one. I was talking about this yesterday with a friend of mine who knows a guy whose dad, you know, it's crazy.
Is connected. You know, he's connected.
Cash businesses. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or he just runs a grocery store.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's just a normal guy.
Yeah.
It's completely, I don't know, whatever. But it is always fun to see these kind of like stories about this shit. I mean, not in this situation. This is terrifying, but just in general, stories of organized crime. There's a reason why there's such a popular topic for movies and stuff, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. What did Chris just say to us?
Oh, he's saying something about a hitman in China.
Yeah, but you could find one over there.
So there was this hitman case in China where they kept outsourcing it to other people, and they all ended up getting arrested. By the time the last guy got it, he was making barely any money, and they all got caught and all went to jail.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other problem is that like somewhere down the line, you're accidentally going to hire somebody who's posing as a bad dude, but really is a police officer. They do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And dude, that's the other thing. It's crazy to me that story's real. The story about the guy who goes so undercover that it ruins his personal life. And then he starts feeling, compassionate for the killers. And how often do you think that guy actually, I mean, he can't turn over to the bad guys because the cops are following his every move and he no longer has an identity. Like, what a fucking stupid job to undertake.
Stockholm syndrome. Dude, I've always thought being deeply undercover I'd be good at that though.
I think you would be too.
And it's because I make friends with very different groups of people. I'm a chameleon of friendship.
If you like that video, check out our channel where we have way more videos. I just don't know how to do this. This is unbelievable. If you like that video, we have way more videos on our channel. Please like and subscribe. Turn on notifications if you want to know when there are new ones. But if not, check them out, and we appreciate it.
Oops.